Greetings everybody and welcome to my 7 Days to Die tutorial on crafting and workstations. In this tutorial I'm going to be showing you an in-depth guide to how the crafting mechanics work in 7 Days to Die, as well as show you each and every one of the 5 workstations that you're going to need in order to unlock the more advanced recipes in the game. I'm going to show you how to find the parts for the workstations, how to build them, and then additionally, how to find all the other stuff for the workstations, such as subcomponents, in order to unlock the most advanced recipes. Some workstations also have some neat little features, which I'm going to be covering in detail as well. Now, we do have a lot to cover, so without any further ado, let's get started! The crafting mechanic in 7 Days to Die is actually a very simple one. Essentially, all you have to do is go out and find resources, and then when you press tab, you'll see that a menu opens up on the left. Now, if you look on the menus here, you can see all kinds of stuff, and everything in this menu you can see is stuff that you can craft. In order to see what components you need to craft an item, all you need to do is look to the right of it, where if you click on one of these things, let's take the bedroll for example, you'll see that if I click on the bedroll, a larger image of that bedroll will appear on the right, plus a little description about it. So it says that placing it on the ground will let you spawn there when you die, and then show the spot on your map. Now, below the description of the bedroll is going to show you the items that you need to craft it. And the items can either be in your hotbar or your inventory. If you have the items in chests or anything else, it won't work. The items have to be on your inventory in order to craft something. So just to recap, your inventory covers your hotbar and your actual inventory room just down the bottom here. So your hotbar is right at the bottom, and then your inventory is just above that to the right. And you can see that I'm highlighting over all the spaces in my inventory right now. So let's go and see if we can craft a bedroll. Currently, you'll see that the icon for the bedroll is grayed out, and the craft icon is also grayed out. This means that right now I don't have the right resources in order to craft my bedroll. I need to get myself 20 plant fibers. Now, luckily for me, I'm in a nice little forest area, so let me go and get myself 20 plant fibers. So let's just go and punch 10 of these. And now I'm going to press tab and go into my crafting inventory again. And now you can see that the bedroll has actually turned white, and you can see that the craft option is now available. As soon as you hit craft, you'll see that the bedroll gets added to the crafting queue on the bottom left. Now the crafting queue has enough for 4 items, so I can make up to 4 things at any one time. When one of them clears, the next item in the queue will then be crafted after that, and subsequently it will be crafted in the order that you do it. But you can only have up to 4 items in the queue. If you have more than that, then you're going to need to wait in order to craft the next item. Although the crafting menu can be quite large at first, it's actually very easy to navigate once you know a few of the neat little features that are included with it. I'm going to show you all of those now. The first way to navigate the crafting menus is to use the tabs across the top. When you mouse over each of the tabs, you'll see a little tooltip appear with a short description of what recipes are covered in each of those tabs. So, for example, if I click on the medicine one, you can see that all the crafting ingredients that have to do with medicine are displayed right there in front of me. I can also do the same with other tabs, so if you see the clothing one, you can see that there is all the clothing that you can make from your backpack, as well as some other cool things such as armor, bandanas, and in some cases, hats as well. So that's pretty cool. Another neat way to navigate throughout the crafting menu is to use the search feature on the top. So if you just click in the search bar, you'll see that a cursor is now flashing ready to type in what you're looking for. So for example, let's say I wanted to find a first aid kit. If I was to type first aid, if I spell it right, there we go, you can see that all items containing the words first aid are shown to me. In this case, the first aid bandage and the first aid kit. As you familiarize yourself with items in 7 Days to Die, the search function is probably the thing you're going to be mainly using in order to navigate to items quickly and easily. Adding recipes to your favorites tab is another neat way in which you can navigate to items quickly and easily. This is very useful, in fact, for items that you need to make a lot of, including arrows and stone axes, which you're going to be making a lot of in the early game. So let's see how you add an item to your favorites. The first thing you need to do is click on the item. Now you can see that I can't craft this item, but below the craft option, there's an option called favorite. If I click on that, you can see that a little star has appeared next to the icon for the item on the left. Now, if I click on the star in the top left of the menu, this will show all the items that I favorited. So currently, the only item that I've added to my favorites is the arrows, but you can add as many or as few items to the favorites as you want. So another common thing that you'll want to craft in the early game is stone axes. So let's go and add the stone axe to my favorites as well. To do that, all we have to do is click on stone axe, click on the favorites, then you can see the star has appeared. So if we go now into our favorites, you can now see that the arrows and the stone axes are in my favorites, ready for me to navigate to those very, very quickly and easily. So the favorites is an awesome feature. To remove an item from your favorites, all you have to do is just click on the item and click the favorites button again. You can see that it's now removed from my favorites. You don't have to be in the favorites menu to do this. You can be outside the favorites menu as well, as long as the item is favorited. If you click favorite again, it will take it away and you'll see the little star has disappeared. Now if I go back into my menu here, you can see that I now have no items in my favorites. The crafting menu also provides a nice way to mass craft items, so you don't necessarily have to craft one item at a time and clog up your queue. So for example, let's have a look at the wood frame. This is probably a building block you're going to be using early in the game as well, and you're going to need a lot of them. If we go into the wood frames, you can see that I currently need 5 wood for 1 wood frame. The amount of wood frames that I'm going to craft is displayed just above the craft option right here. So you can see that currently it says 1. If I use the arrows, you can see that I can increase or decrease the amount of wood frames that I want to craft. If I click on the arrow on the very right here, this will show me the maximum number of wood frames that I can craft. So right now, the maximum number of wood frames that I can craft is 997. You can see that the resource cost on the right is also reflected, because 1 wood frame costs 5 wood, 997 of them is going to cost 4,985. You can never go above this maximum limit. So if I try and go above it with the right arrow, you can see that it's not going to let me. So it will only let you craft the maximum amount that you have resources for. You can also type in a more precise number of how many you want to craft. So for example, let's just say I wanted to type 200. All you have to do is just click in the box and type in the number 200, and therefore you can see that the cost of resources on the right is also reflecting that. To get your crafting going, just click on the craft button. And there you go, you can now see that 200 wood frames have been added to my queue. And my crafting skill is going up as well. Hooray! Another crafting mechanic in 7 Days to Die is scrapping. What scrapping allows you to do is to take certain items or blocks that you've either crafted or found in the world and break them down into one of their base components so that you can use it for other recipes. Let's take a look at the wood frames that I've got in my backpack as an example. In order to scrap an item from your backpack, you have to just simply click on the item, and then in the tooltip that appears above, you can see that there are now 3 options. There's equip, scrap, and drop. If I click on scrap, you can see that the item is taken out of your backpack, and in the crafting queue, there is a representation of the item that you're going to get back from it from scrapping. So you can see that by scrapping these 20 wood frames, I'm going to get 75 wood. Once the operation is completed, those 75 wood will be dumped back into my backpack along with all the rest of the wood. And there we go. You can see that I now have 75 wood given back to me for scrapping those wood frames. It should be noted though that scrapping comes with a 25% loss, and you don't get all materials back that you've used to craft the item. Sometimes you might accidentally start crafting something and realize that you don't actually want to craft that item after all. Fortunately, there's a way to remove items from your crafting queue before they've completed crafting in order to get 100% of your resources back. Currently, you can see that I'm crafting a barbed club, and I've decided that I don't want to actually craft that item anymore. So all I have to do to cancel the crafting action is to go down to my crafting queue and hover over the item that I'm currently crafting. You can see that now that I'm hovering over the barbed club, you can see a big red X has appeared on this. As long as I stop this crafting action before the timer runs out, I will actually get 100% of my resources back. So you can see that if I click this, I got all my forged iron and all my wood back by cancelling the crafting action. Nothing was lost here. So as long as you click the cancel button before your crafting action completes, you'll get 100% of the resources back. Now that I've cancelled the barbed club, I've decided that I want to craft a spiked club instead. You can see that a spiked club costs 20 forged iron and 20 wood, and I definitely have enough resources. So let's go and craft it. Hang on a second, I'm clicking on the craft button, but you can see that although the recipe is in white, the craft button is greyed out. Why is that? Well, if we look in the crafting menu on the left, if you look to the very right of the entry for Spiked Club, you can see that there's a little book icon right there. What this means is that I can only craft the Spiked Club after I've learned a certain schematic. And the schematic that I need in order to learn the Spiked Club is the Spiked Club schematic. You'll find schematics around in the world from bookshelves and filing cabinets, and sometimes on zombies as well. In order to read a schematic, all you need to do is click on that schematic and then simply hit read. Then once I've read the schematic, you can see that now the book icon has highlighted in white. Now that the book icon is in white, you can see that I can now go ahead and craft it. Hooray! Another icon you may come across in the crafting menu when trying to craft certain items or blocks is the one that looks like a university graduate's hat. You can see that leather has such an icon to the right of it. Now, what this means is that I need to purchase a perk in order to be able to craft leather. The perk I need in this case is leather tanning. In order to find your perks, all you need to do is go to the very top of your crafting inventory, go right to the top, and in the top 4 tabs on the left-hand side, just click on the skills one. This will take you to your skills and perks. Then all you need to do is navigate to the correct perk in order to buy the recipe. In this case, I need to buy leather tanning. To buy a recipe, all you need to do is click on the perk and then press buy. You can see that in this case, the buy button is grayed out for me because I already know leather tanning. Therefore, I can craft leather. But if you don't know leather tanning, you're going to need 10 points in order to get it. In order to get points, you just need to level up your character or complete certain quests to earn skill points. When you are using the search feature in your backpack to find items, sometimes you may notice other icons that I haven't covered quite yet. I'm going to go over what these mean now. The icons that appear other than the book one and the university graduate's hat ones denote the workstation that you need to use in order to craft said item. Now, there are 5 different workstations that you can use, and therefore there are 5 different icons that we have to cover. The one here that looks like a table indicates that you need to use the workbench. You can see it to the right of the rocket. The one to the right of the rocket casing and rocket tip that look like an anvil with a hammer on it means that you need to craft this item using a forge. For items such as goldenrod tea and red tea, you can see that to the right of those entries there's a campfire symbol. That means that I need to use the campfire in order to make these items. The 2 last icons that we have to cover are the beaker, which is to the right of the top fertilizer entry here. This means that in order to craft fertilizer, I need to use the chemistry station. If we look at the bottom fertilizer entry, you can see that there is a mixer symbol to the right of it. That means I need to craft the fertilizer in the cement mixer. Some recipes can be crafted in multiple workstations, such as the fertilizer. You can see that I can craft it in the chemistry station, the campfire, or the cement mixer. It's worth noting that each of these does have slightly different recipes. So in order to craft the fertilizer in a chemistry station, I need some turds, nitrate powder, and dirt fragments. But in order to craft it in the cement mixer, I need rotten flesh. You can see that the campfire is also slightly more expensive than the chemistry station. So some workstations will allow you to craft certain items for cheaper. Sometimes you may notice that the icons appear in grey instead of white. What that means is you need to either learn a schematic or purchase a perk in order to be able to craft that item. So, for example, the shotgun slugs need to be crafted on the workbench, but you can see that currently it's grayed out. So what that means is that I don't know the schematic for the shotgun slugs yet. In order to craft the shotgun slugs, I need to find the shotgun slug schematic and learn it before I can then craft it. Even if I went to the workbench without knowing the schematic, I wouldn't be able to craft it until I learned it. Now that you understand the basics of crafting in 7 Days to Die and how to use the crafting menu, let's have a look at all 5 of the workstations that are available in the game. Now, I know I just covered this in the previous segment, but I'm going to talk about what each workstation is used for so you guys get an idea of what you're going to need to craft certain items. The first workstation that you're going to use in 7 Days to Die, and which is also by far the easiest to craft, is the campfire. The campfire is used for mostly all of the food recipes in 7 Days to Die, as well as some drink recipes such as goldenrod tea and red tea. The foods that you make in the campfire are great because they're going to help you boost your wellness, so definitely getting all the materials for the campfire and learning how to cook your foods early on in the game is going to benefit you. Later on in the game, the campfire is going to be used to make things such as gas cans, grain alcohol, and herbal antibiotics. But you're going to need a few tools in the campfire in order to actually make those. In some cases, it's actually better to use the chemistry station to make these things as they're a little bit cheaper or take less time. The forge is the next workstation that you're going to see in 7 Days to Die. This is essential for all your metalworking needs, and it's going to allow you to make things such as forged iron and steel arrowheads for better arrows and crossbow bolts later on in the game, and then much later in the game, you'll be using this to make things such as cement, rocket casings, rocket tips, and things like bullet casings and bullet tips for your guns. You can even make certain types of blocks in the forge, such as metal trussing, iron bars, brick blocks, and pavers. The workbench is the third crafting station that you're going to find in 7 Days to Die. The workbench offers a few useful things, including the ability to have a secondary crafting queue in addition to the one that you have in your backpack. What this means is you can queue up a load of items in your backpack to craft, but then if you go into the workbench, you have another 4 slots to queue up items that can then be crafted on the workbench simultaneously alongside your main backpack queue. This means that you can get more items faster once you've got a workbench. The workbench also serves as a gate to some of the higher tiered items in the game, such as steel tools like the steel fire axe and the steel pickaxe, as well as bullets for your guns and rockets. The fourth workstation that you're going to see is the cement mixer. Now, the cement mixer's main purpose is to turn cement, sand, and stones into concrete, but it also has a few other uses, including making fertilizer and making some other nice blocks such as asphalt and gravel. The final workstation in 7 Days to Die is the chemistry station. Although it shares many of the same scientific and medical recipes as it does the campfire, the chemistry station is much more efficient in creating those recipes. This means that if you need a large amount of certain items such as antibiotics, fertilizer, or gas, the chemistry station is your go-to station in order to craft those items in order to save you a lot of resources. It's also great at making gunpowder, so bear that in mind too. Let's take a more detailed look at the campfire so we can see how to craft it and how the thing works. So, I've been on a big hunting trip, and as you can see, I've got a ton of meat as well as some bottled and canned murky water. What I want to do is cook the meat and the water to make it safe to eat and drink respectively. To do that, we're going to need a campfire. Now, in order to make a campfire, let's see how we craft it. So a campfire, if we look in our crafting inventory, could just be crafted right here. All it needs is 8 small stones. Pretty easy. To get small stones, you can find them lying on the ground, or you can start hitting on rocks and boulders that you find on the surface. So let's go and find some small stones. We just need 8 of these, and then we can make ourselves our very own campfire. So this shouldn't be too hard. There's quite a few nice little rocks around here, and if we run out, we can always just start punching that big stone until we get enough. So there's 6, there's 7, there should be one more around here. There we go. We now have 8 of these, and all we need to do is craft the campfire in our inventory. Now it will show up in our backpack, so let's put it on our hotbar. You can shift click to get it straight into your hotbar quickly as long as there's free space. And then when you're in the world, all you need to do is right click the campfire onto the ground and it will place it in the world for you. In order to interact with the campfire, all you need to do is look directly at it and then press E to use it. When you press E to use it, it will come up with a very similar crafting menu as it does in your backpack. But you'll notice on the right hand side there are a few extra things. Now, the campfire is one of the workstations that requires fuel. Fuel is anything that can burn, such as wood, coal, or gasoline. You can use any, but each will have different burn times. In the early game, the most likely fuel you're going to be using is wood. So let's get some wood and put it into the campfire. By the way, you can right click on the item in your inventory to make the stack size in half. This is really useful if you want to put a lot less wood in the campfire so that it doesn't burn on for too long. So let's go ahead and get about 600 wood and chuck it in the campfire. Now that I've put the wood in the campfire, you can see that the recipes on the left have started to highlight. You can see that I can now create boiled water and charred meat. In order to use this, it's pretty much exactly the same as your crafting menu. All you have to do is click on the item you want to craft and then say cook. Let's go ahead and cook 1 charred meat and 1 boiled water. Now, as I start cooking these items, the amount of wood in the campfire is going to go down as it burns through its fuel. You can see the total amount of burn time on the top right in the fuel tab. So you can see that I actually have 100 minutes of burn time. Once the items have crafted up, it'll appear in the output. In order to get it into your inventory, you can either click and drag it, or just shift click, and it will go straight into your inventory like that. Now, the charred meat and the bottled water is safe to drink. Now, you can see that there is also more options for meat, such as bottled water, like this one, and grilled meat, like this one. Now, you can see that although I have meat in order to make grilled meat, and bottled murky water in order to make regular water, you can see that I can't actually craft them for some reason. The reason is, if you look on the top right in the tools section, the campfire requires a cooking pot, a cooking grill, and a beaker in order to unlock all of the recipes in the campfire. So, let me go and show you how you can find or craft each of these. Once everything's cooked in the campfire, remember to turn it off as well. In order to find a cooking pot, there are several things that you can do. The most likely point of interest you're going to run into early on in the game are basic houses such as this one. Luckily for us, a lot of these houses may have a chance at containing a cooking pot in one of the sinks or an oven. So let's have a little break in and see if we can find one. So when you're in the house, just make a beeline for the kitchen and start searching the sinks and the stoves to see if you can find a cooking pot. Search the stove, not one in there. How about in the sink? Unfortunately, not one in there. You can also have a search in the bathroom sinks because sometimes there are cooking pots in the bathroom ones as well. So let's have a little search in a bathroom sink just in case we find one in here. There we go, we found some cooking pots in the sink. Sometimes you'll also find cooking pots just sat up on worktops. In order to get that, just go up to it and press E to pick it up. Beware though, if you're in the wasteland biome and you see a cooking pot on the ground, it's most likely a landmine. Just be careful. Now, ironically, cooking grills can't be found in ovens. The only place where you can naturally find a cooking grill is in hollowed tree stumps. Are we going to find one? Unfortunately, we didn't. Let's go find another one. Let's try this one. Nope. Third time lucky? Yes! The cooking pot and cooking grills are also craftable using a forge. We're going to get into that a little bit later, but just know that those two parts for the campfire can be crafted if you can't find them. Cooking grills in particular are pretty difficult to find as tree stumps can be few and far between. Now, in order to get a beaker, the ways to do that is to either kill some nurse zombies and hope that they drop it. It's quite a rare drop chance, so you probably wouldn't find it often using this method, but you can do it that way. Another way is to go and find a poppin' pills and just raid all the pill cases. You'll have a much higher chance of finding a beaker. It should be noted that the beaker can't be crafted. So let's have a little look in this poppin' pills and see if we can raise some of these pill cases. So when you're in the poppin' pills, look for these. These are the pill cases, and if you go inside these and just start looting them, you may find a beaker. So let's have a look in some of these and see if we can find one. There's a lot of good meds here you can find as well, so it's definitely worth coming to these places. Aha! Here we go. 2 beakers. Nice. In order to equip the tools to the campfire, all you have to do is press E to open the crafting menu as usual. Then, all you need to do is click the tools and drag it into the right slot. So, I'm going to get the cooking pots and put it in the cooking pot slot. Notice now how some of the recipes have highlighted in white. That means we can now craft those because we have a cooking pot. Let's go ahead and put the grill in as well. You can now see that we can make grilled meat in addition to all the other good stuff. And if we put some beakers in, no more recipes have highlighted, but that's most likely because we don't have the required resources. But now that we have all 3 tools in the campfire, every single recipe is open to us. So we can go ahead and craft some more good stuff. So I managed to find some eggs on my travels. Let's craft some bacon and eggs. That's going to be good to get my wellness up. Now you'll notice that when you start crafting, the tool slots are now locked. This means while you're crafting, you cannot add or remove tools, even if the campfire is turned off. In order to add or remove a tool from the campfire, you need to cancel your recipe first to unlock the tool slots. Then, you can feel free to move the tools in and out as you like. The forge is the second workstation that you're going to need to make in order to advance in 7 Days to Die. Now, the forge is slightly harder to make and it requires a few more resources in addition to the stone that you would usually use to make a campfire. So we've already covered how to get stones, but we're going to cover how to get lumps of clay, short iron pipes, and bellows. Bellows, of course, are actually a subcomponent of the forge. So if we type in bellows here, you can see that we can either make bellows with wood, animal hide, and short iron pipes, or with wood, leather, and short iron pipes. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how to get animal hide and leather first, then short iron pipes, then clay, then you'll know how to get everything in order to make a forge. In order to get animal hides, you're going to need to hunt some animals. In order to hunt animals effectively, you're going to need two things. A ranged weapon, such as a bow, crossbow, or a gun. I've got one right here. And also some kind of skinning tool. A hunting knife, a bone shiv, or a machete will do the job just fine. In the early game, you can make yourself a bone shiv by just cutting up a zombie, getting a large bone, and then crafting that directly into a bone shiv. It also makes a fairly decent weapon. Now that we've got the necessary hunting equipment, let's go find some animals. I see a stag over there, and he's spotted me, so he's already running. Stags, pigs, bears, zombie dogs, and rabbits all drop animal hides. The best way to hunt stags is obviously not as I'm doing right now and getting right in front of their face. You need to kind of sneak up on them and then aim an arrow to the head to finish them off nice and quickly. See if we can do this. Well, I hit him once. If you hit them in the body, they'll most likely try and bleed out, so you can let them run. You can tell if an animal is going to bleed out because it will keep running and it won't stop. So you can see that he's still running, which means he's probably bleeding out now. So he's probably going to die pretty soon. He's still running over there. And there we go. The animal has bled out. Now, once you've made your kill, go up to the animal and get out your bone shiv, hunting knife, or machete and start skinning it. You'll see that you can then get some animal hides. You need 20 animal hides in order to make a forge. So if you're not near a town, hunting animals is probably the best thing you can do. The higher the quality of the shiv or the hunting knife you use, the more hides you're going to get in the long run. So using a hunting knife is better, and using a machete is the best. And there you go. You also don't want to leave these gore blocks around because they'll attract screamers, so make sure you chop those up as well. Leather is an easy resource to get if you're near a town. Notable locations where you can get leather in good quantities are ostrich hotel buildings, the diners, which I'm outside of one right now, and cracker books. Those are probably the best places where you can get a lot of leather. If you're in the hub city, you can also raid the apartment buildings, and you can find small amounts in pass and gas buildings as well. So right now, I'm in a diner, so let's go and see if we can find some leather. In order to find leather in the diner, all you need to do is look for these leather sofas. Simply chop them up, and you'll get a good amount of leather very, very quickly. Now, the leather can be used for more than just the forges, including leather, armor, and iron armor, so you might want to collect a fair amount of it. But I think we're going to use leather to make our bellows. If you have a wrench to hand, you can also search the fully upgraded cars to get leather when you take them apart. Simply just left click on the car and hold, and you'll start getting a small amount of leather. Unfortunately, cars don't give you too much leather, and not all of the cars are in fully good condition. Most cars you see will be like this, or in their lowest quality. The last thing we need for the bellows is short iron pipes. There's a few ways to get short iron pipes. The easiest way to get an iron pipe is to destroy a toilet with an axe or a stone axe. You're guaranteed one short iron pipe per toilet destroyed. You only need 2 in total to make a forge, so if you find 2 toilets and destroy them, that will be enough. If you have a wrench, however, you can take the toilets apart, and you'll see you actually get between 2 and 3 short iron pipes. You could do the same with sinks as well. You can even get short iron pipes from cars in their lowest degradation stage. So if you see cars like this, use a wrench on them. You'll get some short iron pipes out of it. The last thing we need for the forge is clay. It's actually a very easy resource to find once you know what you're looking for. If you're in a plains biome, if you see corn growing, you'll know that you've hit a clay spot. You can see that the clay spots have a slightly darker brown and green tinge to them compared to the ground around it. If you're in a forest biome, you'll see a lot more goldenrod and cotton growing, and if you're in a maple forest biome, you'll see loads of snowberries, which is a good indicator that there's clay nearby. In deserts, you'll see a higher concentration of yucca and aloe vera. In snow and burnt forest, it's slightly harder to find, but you can still find it relatively easily. All you have to do, come up to the clay with a shovel and start digging. Now that we have all the components we need, we're ready to craft the forge. The first thing we need to do is get some bellows on the go. So to make bellows, all you need is 8 wood, 20 leather or 20 animal hides, and 1 short iron pipe. In this case, we decided to use leather because there was more leather around than animals to hunt. So let's go ahead and craft some bellows. Now, in your games, in the early game, bellows will take a lot longer to craft. It's only taking 11 seconds for me because I've got max level quicker crafting and miscellaneous crafting skill. So once the bellows are crafted, we're ready to go and craft the forge. So let's go ahead and make one of those. It appears, though, I am missing 50 small stones. Let me just go and grab some. Now I've got the 50 small stones, or actually 1,000 of them, but now I've got these, let's go ahead and craft the forge. Now the forge takes a little bit longer, but once you've got the forge made, you can just place it in the world, the same as the campfire. Now I've gone and placed my forge in the world, we're ready to start using it. To interact with the forge, just press E. It's exactly the same as the campfire. The forge is another workstation that requires fuel to run, so I'm just going to grab a little bit of wood and put it in the fuel slot. Now, let's say I wanted to craft some forged iron. Let's click on forged iron and see what it needs. For forged iron, we need 10 iron and 5 clay. Now, in our inventory, you can see that we have 141 iron and 100 clay. But it's saying here that we actually have none and none respectively. Why is that? Well, the forge mechanic works slightly different than the crafting mechanic. In order to craft with the forge, first you need to put materials in to melt up. Where do you put those in? If you look on the right hand side, you can see a tab called smelting. What you need to do is get some materials, like this iron and this clay, for example, and put it in the right hand side here. Once those are in, turn on the forge, and you'll see that things are now starting to melt up. The numbers currently are red, which is indicating that we don't have enough resources. But now you can see that if we look, we actually have 15 clay, and now we have over 10 iron. To craft, it's pretty much the same as the campfire. You just click the craft button and wait for it to craft up. Once it's done, it will appear in the output on the right hand side. Cooking pots and cooking grills can also be crafted in the forge. However, in order to do that, you're going to need some tools. The main tool that the forge relies on to craft more of the block recipes in here, such as the metal trussing and the rebar, is the anvil. In order to find the anvil, you can actually go to a working stiff shop and find it from any of the crates. However, you can also craft the anvil directly in the forge. It does require a lot of iron though. Note that you can also put iron and steel tools in the forge to boost the amount of iron that you get. So watch what happens when I put this fire axe in. I put that in, and in a minute you'll see that now I've got a heck of a load of iron. That axe has melted up. However, it will stop any subsequent materials being melted up for a little while that iron processes. So now you can see that we have enough for an anvil. The easiest way to get an anvil is simply just to make it in the forge. It's nice and quick. So let's go ahead and make one of those. Now that we've made the anvil, we can equip it into the tool slots. The process is exactly the same as the campfire. All we have to do is click on the anvil and drag it up to the tool slot, like this. You can now see that more recipes have become unlocked, including recipes for the cooking pot and the cooking grill. So if you didn't find them, you can now make them for your campfire. In order to get the other tools for the forge, which are the calipers for bullet casings and the tool and die set for rocket casings and rocket tips, you're going to need to find some working stiffs boxes. The easiest place to find these is of course in the working stiffs tools. However, you can find working stiffs boxes in many other places, including the power plant, Parson Gas, the top of the Ostrich Hotel, the water purification plant, there's a lot in there, and a few other places. I'll leave you to discover those on your own. So let's have a look in the working stiffs box and see if we can get lucky. Calipers and tool and die sets are a pretty rare drop, so you have to look pretty hard to find them. You can also buy them from the trader rarely, but let's have a look and see if we get lucky. So in here we got mechanical parts and a hammer. Those will actually be useful later. Let's have a look in some more of these boxes and see if we can find any. None in there, but we did find an anvil. Cool. Any more boxes? Nope, nope, nope. Aha! What have you got? Another anvil and more mechanical parts. Nice. Let's go into the back. Alrighty, we're in the back. Let's have a look and see what we can find in these boxes. Maybe we'll get lucky. So, nothing in there. Nails and hard metal doors in there. Nothing. And more mechanical parts. I'm going to collect these mechanical parts because they'll be useful for other things. Unfortunately, we didn't manage to find any calipers or tools and die sets in the working stiffs. It is a chance mechanic, and they are pretty rare. If you're still struggling to find them though, you can go ahead and fight lumberjack zombies in the snow biome, as they have a small chance of dropping it. The worker zombies also have a small chance at dropping calipers as well. You can usually find those around the power plants and the water purification plants. Unfortunately though, we're out of luck in this one. Now that we're back at the forge, let's get the calipers and the tool and die set put in. This will now unlock all the recipes for the forge, so as long as you have the right resources, you can create pretty much everything. Now, one question that comes up quite commonly is, broken glass seems to be pretty rare to put in the forge. Is there any other way to get glass into the forge? Yes, there is. As well as putting broken glass in to melt up like this, let's just put these in. You'll see that if I put broken glass in the forge, eventually that will start melting up and producing glass for me. You can also put sand into the forge as well. So if you have a load of crushed sand, you can start putting that into the forge, and you'll see that the crushed sand starts melting up as well. This will allow you to make things such as glass jars and other good stuff as well. So now you can see I can go ahead and make myself a glass jar using the sand and the broken glass that I put in the forge. Nice. Now to get things out of the forge, you can see that right now I have 275 iron, 10 glass, and 33 clay. What if I wanted to get all my resources back out of the forge? The trick is, just type the name of the resource. So if I type iron, you can see that I can just get iron and just craft with it to get them all out the forge. You can see that the iron count will drop to 0, and out they come. The third crafting station we're going to look at is the workbench. Now, in order to craft the workbench, I recommend that you have a forge first, because this will make getting some of the other materials a lot easier. In particular, the forged iron, which you've already seen how to craft, and the claw hammer, which is very easy to craft with some forged iron and wood. I won't show you that explicitly, because it's just a simple recipe in your backpack. The wood is also pretty easy to come across. The harder things to find are the mechanical parts and the wrench. So let's go over each of those in turn, and I'll show you how you can find them. In order to find wrenches, the best thing I can recommend you do is look inside sinks in points of interest. These are the most common places to find wrenches. They're not overly common, but with some luck, you can find one. And lo and behold, we found a quality 95 wrench. Hooray! In order to find mechanical parts, I recommend checking out shops and bigger points of interest, because they usually have more things that will contain mechanical parts in them. The first thing you can do is take apart trolleys. These only have a chance at giving you mechanical parts, but it provides a decent first source. And there are usually quite a lot of trolleys around stores. There we go, as you can see, we already got a mechanical part from that trolley. Usually you'll only get one, but sometimes you'll get two. You can also start taking cars apart, as they have a chance at giving you mechanical parts as well. I've already showed you taking cars apart anyway, and you've probably already seen some mechanical parts coming from those cars, but there is a very small chance that you can get some mechanical parts from any stage of a car's degradation. So keep hacking away at cars with wrenches, and eventually you'll accumulate a good number. There's one, right there. Filing cabinets also make a good source of mechanical parts. Let's take one of these apart and see if we get lucky. There we go, we got a mechanical part straight away from that filing cabinet. Nice. One of the best places to get mechanical parts is from points of interest with lots of these office chairs. Each one of these office chairs usually gives you one mechanical part, maybe more. The power plant is a pretty good one to get started on. You can see that I actually got quite a few mechanical parts just from taking those two chairs apart. There's even more upstairs. Nice. The last source that I'm going to show you is the air conditioning units that you can find on the roofs of buildings. These also have a chance to give you mechanical parts, as well as electrical parts and electronic components. There we go, mechanical parts. Nice. Now we have everything we need to craft the workbench. However, when you go into your crafting menu, you'll notice that little guy wearing the university hat is back. That's right, we need to purchase a perk in order to be able to craft the workbench. So let's go into our skills tree and see where we find it. The workbench can be found on the second page of skills. You can even search for it at the top if you like. In order to craft the workbench, you need to have 15 skill points, and you also need your construction tools at level 20. In order to increase your construction tools, just build stuff. Use stone axes on everything, use hammers on everything, and eventually you'll get your construction skills up. The wrench will also help as well in the process when you're taking things apart. Once you've got the perk, go back into your crafting, and then you'll be able to create the workbench and lay it down. It does take a while to create though, so I'll be right back once it's done. Now that we've crafted the workbench, all you need to do is simply right-click with it in your hand to place it in the world. Then press E to interact with it. The cool thing about the workbench is you can access all the recipes that you would usually be able to access in your backpack. This means that you can craft stuff in your backpack and at the same time have all those recipes available in the workbench to craft in parallel. Let me demonstrate. Let's go ahead and craft... Let's say we wanted to craft 100 storage chests. I know it's a random item, but let's just do this. You can see that the crafting queue is now in the workbench, crafting 100 storage chests and putting it in the output on the right. The cool thing is, I can actually come out of the workbench and I can make 100 more secure storage chests. You can see that my backpack queue is still empty. So let's go ahead and get 100 more secure storage chests, and you'll see that I'm now getting 100 secure storage chests in my bag and another 100 in the workbench. The cool thing is, if you're crafting the same kind of stuff, you can stand in the workbench to double the level at which your skill increases. So you can see that my backpack is crafting chests here, but I'm also getting ones up here in parallel. I'm going to stop that now though, because we don't need so many chests. You can also do your scrapping on the workbench as well. I can scrap something in the workbench, and I can also scrap something in my backpack in parallel. That makes it nice and fast if you need to scrap a lot of stuff quickly. You can now divide it between your backpack and the workbench. Of course, if you have multiple workbenches, you can make this go even faster. One of the awesome things about the workbench is the ability to combine tools and other things together. Now what this means is you can take any two of the same tool, clothing, gun part, or other miscellaneous item that has a quality, put them together in the workbench, and you'll get a better quality version of that tool. If the tool is full health, like all of these ones, then the quality will increase at its maximum. If not though, the tool will be repaired. So let's have a look with the iron fire axes. You can click and drag them into the item slot, or you can shift click them in, like that. You can now see that if I combine a fully upgraded 439 with a fully repaired 333, it bumps the quality up to 455. So now, by doing this, I've got a better fire axe. I can do the same with clothes. So let's go ahead and do that. You can see that by combining these two, it doesn't matter which order, it will do the higher one and then add the lower one to it. We've now got some quality 571 shorts. The gun parts are the same. So now you can see that I've actually managed to get myself a quality 600 AK-47 stock. And you can even do it with things like engines. There you go. 456 with a 245 gives me a 468. It should be noted that even though these are technically the same item of clothing, you cannot combine these together because they're different colours. So if you want to combine clothes together, they have to be exactly the same colour and the same type of clothing. So essentially, the items have to be exactly the same in order to be combined together to use this feature on the workbench. And this is why the workbench is awesome. It should be noted that the workbench also gives you access to things such as steel tools and bullets. And now in Alpha 15, you could only craft tools to a maximum of quality 500. If you want quality 600 tools, you're going to have to use the combining feature on the workbench. It takes 5 quality 500 tools combined on the workbench to give you 1 quality 600 tool. The next workstation we're going to look at is the cement mixer. Now, to craft the cement mixer, you already need to have a workbench up and running, so make sure you have one of those first before you try and craft one. I also recommend that you have a forge as well, so you can get to forged iron nice and easily. Now, we've already covered how to get the forged iron and the mechanical parts, which just leaves us with springs and small engines. Fortunately, you can get them from the same place. Let me go show you how. Springs and engines are actually very easy to find in the same place, and that is cars. Your best bet is to find a stage 1 degraded car, so one that has some of the paint left on it but has some of the doors ripped off. If you use a wrench on these, you can usually get some springs. You can see that I'm getting some springs nice and easily. Let's go and take that other one apart and see if I can get an engine. So I didn't manage to get an engine from either of those cars, but that is the best way to get springs and engines, by taking those cars apart. There's also another way to get springs, which I'll go and show you quickly right now. Another neat way to get springs is by taking beds apart. You can see you get quite a few springs just from doing that. Make sure you use a wrench on it though, otherwise you won't get springs. You may just get a few short iron pipes. Now that we've got everything we need to craft the cement mixer, the last thing we need to do is make sure we have the concrete mixing perk in order to craft it. You can tell that you have the perk because the workbench will be white. If it's grey, it means you don't have the perk yet. To find the perk, just go to your skills menu, and then on the second page, you should see the perk for concrete mixing. This requires a construction skill of level 20 and is actually 30 points rather than 15 that we used for the workbench. So it's a little bit more expensive, but it's worth it because it's going to allow you to make concrete. Once you purchase that, you then need to go and craft the cement mixer. But hey, the craft option isn't showing. Remember, we need to do this on the workbench. That's why you need a workbench first before you can craft the cement mixer. If we go on the workbench and then just type in cement mixer here, we can then go ahead and craft it on here. Again, this workstation takes a little bit of time to craft, so I'll be back when it's ready. The cement mixer is now done. Hooray! Let's grab this and place it in the well. So let's just drag this onto our hotbar, and as usual, just right click anywhere to place it into the well. And there we go. The cement mixer can now be interacted with just by pressing E, as it can for any other workstation. In the cement mixer, you'll be able to make all kinds of road and concrete type blocks. You can make regular stone from the cement mixer, as well as sand from crushed sand. You can also turn some of your rocks into regular crushed sand as well, just in case you have a shortage of sand. The main use for the cement mixer, though, is to make concrete mix. In order to make concrete mix, you need 1 crushed sand, 2 small stones, and 1 cement. Combining those together will get you concrete mix. How to get cement mix? You can just melt up stones in the forge, and then you can get cement mix that way. Once you've done all that, you can then start crafting, and everything will be handled in the cement mixer. This queue is separate from your crafting queue as well, so you can see that the concrete mix isn't appearing in my crafting queue. That means I can just go ahead and craft any other stuff in my inventory or in any of the other stations without it interfering into the queue for that. You could just leave these to run. The cement mixer also has another use, which is crafting fertilizer. Odd, right? But yeah, you can actually use it to make fertilizer from rotten flesh, potassium nitrate, and dirt fragments. So in order to do this though, you're going to need a lot of rotten flesh and quite a bit of nitrate as well. Dirt fragments though are relatively easy to come by. It's just the nitrate and maybe the rotten flesh that will give you some problems. Let's go ahead and craft up some of these. You can see though that crafting takes a very long time. With maxed out crafting level, it takes 41 minutes to craft 10 fertilizer. So it does take a while. The last workstation is the chemistry station. Now, the chemistry station is probably one of the harder ones to craft due to the rarity of beakers. All the other stuff you can craft, and most of it we've already seen how to do. However, the beakers are probably going to be the bottleneck in you getting your chemistry station early on in the game. Now, in order to craft a burning barrel, which is the only thing that we haven't seen, let's just have a quick look. So, a burning barrel. We need a few of those, requires 3 forged iron and 20 wood. So it takes a little while to craft them, so let's just go ahead and do that while we're waiting. Now, while we're waiting for that to craft, let's talk about the perk that you need in order to make the chemistry station. If you go into your skills and perks tree, you need to find the chemistry station perk, which you can find just under the workbench one. Now, the chemistry station perk is quite a bit more expensive in terms of the skills that you need before you can purchase it. It's only 15 skill points, so it's not much of an investment. However, what you need is your construction tools at a whopping level 50. In addition to that, you need your science tools, or your science skill, sorry, at level 15. Now, in order to level up your science skill, the best thing I can recommend you do is make lights on the workbench. That has a good way of leveling it up. You can also read schematics, which level up your science skill. The one that I know does that is the medicine kit one. So for the first aid kits, that will definitely level up your science skill as well. So good idea to do that. You can also make other things like antibiotics and things like that to level it up as well. So doing things in the campfire, making like antibiotics, gas, and biofuel and things is also a good way to level up your science skill if you need the extra push. You can also just invest skill points straight into science because it's not one of the easy ones to level up at the moment. So now we should have everything done. Our burning barrels should be ready. Yes, they are. Let's go ahead and make the chemistry station. So let's see exactly what we need. So we got 2 beakers, we need 1 burning barrel, 3, and then of course we need some short iron pipes. We've already seen how to make cooking pots and short iron pipes, so let's just grab some from creative for now. And now we should be able to go ahead and craft the chemistry station. Whoop, not quite. We need the workbench for that. Let's go ahead and do it in the workbench. So if we get the chemistry station up in the workbench, we can then craft it in here. Now, surprisingly, the chemistry station crafts really, really quickly. It doesn't take that long at all to craft it up. So we should be able to just lay this down as soon as it's done. So 5 more seconds and we'll be ready to go. Hooray! And here is our chemistry station. Nice. Now, of course, to lay the chemistry station down, you need to just right-click anywhere in the world. The chemistry station, though, is a little bit bigger than most of the workstations and takes up 3 blocks of space along and 2 blocks of space upwards. So you're going to need a little bit more room to lay this thing down. But once it's down, you are ready to go. Now, the chemistry station is pretty similar to how the campfire works. All you need to do is supply it with some fuel, and then the recipes will become available to you. The good thing is that you don't require any tools for the chemistry station. It's actually one of the more simple ones to actually set up and use. All you need to do is get the recipes and the ingredients that you need for those recipes, and then just start crafting. So notable ones are the antibiotics. They're really easy to craft in the chemistry station. You don't need pure bottled water, you can just use bottled murky water instead, as with most of the other recipes. You can even get things like beer, which you can make with hops, flowers, and bottled murky water, as well as a few other things. You can even get herbal antibiotics from the chemistry station for a little bit less than you'd need to in the campfire. So definitely a good station if you're going to need a lot of gasoline, a lot of biofuel, and things like that, for example. Actually, you can't make biofuel in the... oh, yes, you can. You can. I tell a lie. You can make biofuel. And you can see that all of these recipes cost significantly less. You can see as well that the fertilizer recipe costs a little bit less nitrate than it did in the cement mixer, and far less than it would do in the campfire. So if you're like an avid farmer and you want a load of fertilized earth, the chemistry station is definitely going to be your best friend. So I definitely recommend getting the chemistry station at a pretty mid stage in the game, because it's going to help you out a lot. The best part of the chemistry station, though, is you can craft 1 gunpowder for 1 lump of coal and 1 nitrate powder, effectively doubling your gunpowder output as soon as you get a chemistry station. Of course, like other workstations, when you craft in this one, this is separate from your backpack queue, so you're free to load up as much stuff in here as you want, up to the limit of 4 separate items, and then go into your backpack, and then load more into your backpack to do more crafting there. So simultaneous crafting is really good with all the workstations, and the chemistry station just makes everything that little bit cheaper that you're going to need for more endgame stuff. The really awesome thing about workstations is, as long as you have a wrench, you can actually pick these things up and actually move them around. All you need to do is go up to them with a wrench and start wrenching away. After a few hits with the wrench, you'll see that the chemistry station, or whatever workstation you've picked up, will go back into your inventory. Now, this comes with fair warning. If you have resources inside any of these workstations or anything crafting when you pick these up, those resources will be lost. So as you can see, this forge has a little bit of iron in there. Now, with forges, I recommend you use a pickaxe first to weaken the forge before you then pick it up. So let me just go and get a pickaxe from here. I guess a nice steel one will do. There we go. Quality 514 steel one. Perfect. Let's go and hit this. Let's go and hit this a few times, like that, and then I'm going to use the wrench just to pick it up. There we go, and you can see that I got the forge back, even though I pickaxed it most of the way. As long as your wrench is the last thing to pick up the workstation, it'll come back to your inventory. Now, if I put the forge back down, you'll see that I've lost absolutely everything inside it, including the tools. So make sure, before you pick up any of your workstations, that all the resources and materials have been taken out, because otherwise, you won't get them back. You can even pick up the campfire, I think. If I got the right tool. Yes, you can. So oddly enough, you can pick up a campfire with a wrench. Pretty cool. But remember, you'll also lose all the tools if you pick up a campfire with a wrench and don't take everything out first. So now you can see that all my tools have been lost. So when you go to pick things up, just make sure that everything is emptied. Before I end off the tutorial, guys, I just want to let you know one thing. And I've kind of been keeping it from you the entire tutorial. You can actually find these workstations scattered around the world, both in Navezgane and in Random World Gen. Therefore, you can actually bypass some of the perks completely if you go out exploring. So if you're the adventurous type, you can actually save yourself a little bit of resources and some perk points, because you can go out and wrench up those workstations and bring them back to your base. Now, I'm not going to tell you the exact locations of where they are, because I want you guys to lead your own adventures and find them for yourselves. Travel the world, discover them for yourselves, and reap the rewards of going on that adventure and finding them. I hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial though, and I hope now you know all about the crafting mechanics and how 7 Days to Die crafting works, as well as all the workstation types and what they are used for, and the best way to utilize those. Now, if you have any questions about this tutorial, or you want me to clarify anything, feel free to leave me a comment and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. And if I don't know the answer, I'll be sure to try and find you someone that can help you out. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial, guys, and I will see you next time. So until then, bye!